You're listening to a CNA podcast. Voters in Japan cast their ballots on Sunday in the country's upper house election. The concern was that the ruling coalition, led by the Liberal Democratic Party and its junior partner, Komeito, would lose its majority. The result, exactly that.
The Japanese Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba says he intends to remain in his post after the LDP-led coalition lost control of the legislature's upper house.
Public broadcaster NHK, citing the vote count, said the governing alliance has secured 47 seats, with all seats decided.
Here's what the Prime Minister said at a media conference earlier today.
Our country is facing a critical situation which can be described as national disaster. For instance, America's tariff measures, rising prices, the risk of imminent disasters such as massive earthquakes occurring directly beneath the Tokyo metropolitan area or Nankai Trough quake, and the most complicated and challenging security environment. In these circumstances, the most important thing is to avoid a political vacuum.
The governing alliance has ended up short of the 50 seats needed to retain control of the 248-seat upper chamber. The result could have wide-ranging implications on what comes next for the country, both politically and economically. And there are so many questions. Will Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba be able to stay in power, as he's vowed to do? And what to make of the rise of the far-right Sanseito party, which ran a so-called Japanese First campaign filled with warnings about the growing number of foreigners in the country? I'm Teresa Tang. CNA Senior Correspondent Michiyo Ishida has been covering the polls all weekend, and she's still going strong. She joins us now to make sense of the results and to talk about what happens next. Michiyo, such a busy weekend in Japan, and I know it's a public holiday today for most people, not for you. Thanks for coming on to talk about what's happened.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me again.
Once the dust settles, reports say the numbers could mark the worst results for this LDP-Komeito coalition since its formation back in 1999. Can you tell us where things went so wrong for Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba's alliance?
Well, number one, the public was unhappy with higher consumer prices, including the price of rice twice as high as a year ago. And to deal with that, opposition parties have been calling for a reduction of sales tax or removing it altogether, while Mr. Ishiba insisted sales tax of 8% was necessary to support social welfare, medicine, and dealing with the falling birth rate. His party instead supported push-out of cash handout to everyone, or 20,000 yen, which is about 134 US dollars, and 40,000 yen, or 268 US dollars, to those suffering from low income. Now, that was seen as a pork barrel strategy, and the majority of public was not supportive. Another setback for him, the public did not forget the mishandling of political funds by his party. That has prompted his party's factions, including the biggest Shinzo Abe faction, the former prime minister who died. All these factions were dissolved. Now here's more analysis from Ellis Krauss, professor emeritus at the School of Global Policy and Strategy of University of California, San Diego.
They didn't do as well as they had hoped. They didn't do as badly as they could have, is the message of this election. But what it's going to mean is almost every opposition party, even the center parties, are demanding some sort of relief for consumers, given the price increases. The growth in wages since January have gone down 3%, and the consumer price index, not including food, has gone up 3%. So there's quite a net loss for consumers, and that is what they're so angry about, frankly.
There are so many things to discuss, Michiyo. The Prime Minister is saying he's not going to resign, and he says partially because U.S. trade negotiations are on the horizon. But I want to first talk about the rise of the Sanseito party on the back of its so-called Japanese First campaign, right? It's a fringe far-right party. It found its beginnings on YouTube, and it really pushed this Japanese First platform, and I have to say inspired somewhat by Donald Trump. They appear to be on course to secure up to 14 seats, which is a huge jump from the single seat it nabbed 3 years ago. Now, the party says this is a breakthrough, that it's just the beginning, and I want to get your sense of Sanseito's rise.
Well, Sanseito and also the Democratic Party for the People won a number of seats this time, basically because young people voted this time, and that's those up to their 40s. Now, the older generation here in Japan tend to vote for traditional parties like the LDP, and this time absentee ballots reached a record high of 25% of all electorates, casting their ballots, especially due to the fact that it's been a long holiday period this weekend. In terms of overall turnout, the estimate currently is 58%. Now, compare this to previous upper house election, which was 52. So it's quite an improvement. In terms of policy, Sanseito raised immigration problem on the back of frustrations of the Japanese of the growing number of foreign tourists, resulting in over-tourism in some places like Osaka and Kyoto, and the rising number of foreign workers. Some reports have been saying that these people have been contributing to a higher crime rate. But there were warnings by Japanese media, it's fake news, and people really have to check data, whether what's being said is true. Now, this immigration issue has actually forced the LDP to address problems by launching a cross-agency or so-called control tower on July the 15th by looking into illegal immigrants and tightening the issuance of, for instance, driver license to foreigners and land purchases.
So the Sanseito party celebrating to an extent today. LDP not so much. And we know domestic political stability, we need that, right? Before any country can be politically influential on the world stage. What's next for the LDP then? Are there fractures within the party that need to be addressed first?
Well, first of all, the big question is, will Mr. Shigeru Ishiba be able to hold on to his post? If he is forced to resign, then the ruling LDP must hold a presidential election. And who will run, in this kind of situation? And will this person be able to work together with opposition parties as the LDP and its coalition partner, Komeito, do not have control of both houses of parliament? Mm-hmm. Or will opposition parties join forces to elect their own prime minister? Or will an opposition party join the LDP Komeito coalition? Political analysts here say local media also do not have an answer yet on any of these. So we have to just stay put and watch.
You had a long night. Prime Minister Ishiba probably didn't sleep very well either. After polls closed, he started to get a sense of the loss he was facing, and he said he accepted the, quote, harsh result. But he's vowed to press on, even though he's now led the party to 2 defeats in 2 years in both houses of the Diet. What's next for him?
Well, Teresa, I don't want to be too harsh towards Mr. Ishiba, but one political analyst said, it's 3 strikes, you're out. That's in baseball terms, right? Now, under Mr. Ishiba, the LDP lost 3 crucial elections, the lower house last year, Tokyo Assembly election this year, and now the upper house. So there is great pressure on him to step down. But in an interview with all major Japanese TV networks on Sunday evening, Mr. Ishiba showed no signs of stepping down. But there are leaking information. Political heavyweights within the LDP think he should. And if he insists on staying, analysts say there will be a political movement to pressure him to resign. So how much longer will he be able to stay? That could be the question today. He actually ran in the LDP presidential race 5 times and was finally elected president last year to become party president and then a prime minister. So it's not easy for him to give up this post he has long been seeking to win.
Yeah, and Mr. Ishiba, he's also said another reason he doesn't want to step down is because he wants to see U.S. tariff negotiations through to the end. We know the deadline is August 1st. It's coming up quick. And I'm wondering what impact is the outcome of this election going to have on those talks, right? Could President Trump maybe take advantage of Ishiba's apparent weak domestic position?
Yeah, well, Mr. Ishiba's close aide, Mr. Ryosei Akazawa, Economic Revitalization Minister, who's been Japan's chief negotiator on U.S. trade and tariffs, is expected to head to Washington this week. And he said on Sunday, regardless of the upper house election result, he will go ahead. But will he be able to make any progress? Well, let's hear from Professor Ellis Krauss on what he has to say.
If Ishiba stands up to Trump on tariffs, but Trump imposes the draconian tariffs he's promised to hit Japan with, including on their key industry of automobiles, the economy will tank or go down, and that will dissatisfy the voters. If he doesn't stand up to Trump and gets into some sort of halfway decent agreement, he'll be accused of being weak by the opposition parties who want him to stand up to Trump. So there's no way that Ishiba could win on that issue.
And before we go, can you tell me, what does this outcome tell us about what Japanese people want for themselves and want for their country? We know the cost of rice is soaring, the cost of living is increasing, and we know those appear to have been important issues for voters. And now we're seeing the popularity of anti-establishment voices. Mitch, how pivotal a moment is this in Japanese politics?
Well, some analysts here are saying the public's been looking for a target to express their frustration towards the current situation of higher cost of living, double price on rice, and concerns on the future due to the fast-aging society and low birth rate. They had perhaps looked into Sanseito for that reason, raising the immigration issue and Japan first. On the part of the government, the LDP, they may not have explained enough on why sales tax of 8% cannot be removed or lowered when opposition parties say they can and they want to. So on the part of the LDP, they perhaps need to explain more to the Japanese public the reasons for their policies, because for now, it seems like the policies do not resonate with the Japanese public.
Mitch, always great to hear your take on political developments in Japan. I know it's been a long weekend, a lot of work for you. Thank you so much for taking the time for this.
Thank you for having me again, Teresa.
Just head to CNA.Asia and YouTube to find Michiyo's reports, and also TV episodes of CNA Correspondent air every Wednesday at 9:30 p.m. Singapore, Hong Kong time. If you missed that, you can also head to our YouTube page for those as well. I'm Teresa Tang. The team behind this episode is Saya Win, Clara Ong, Tiffany Ung, Junaini Johari, Pei Ning Ho, and Craig Dale. Thanks very much for listening.